All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian McLogan, and this is week number 78, open live Q&A. But I want to first talk about a little bit of my struggles with math before I get to your Q&A. And remember, last week I didn't get to the Q&A, so I'm going to try to bonus up a little bit extra on there. I'm having a little bit of difficulty still with my computer, but hopefully the stream is coming great from you guys. And therefore we won't have any of the complications that we had last week. But I am so happy that you guys are here for this live stream, because I think I'm going to talk about a very important topic that I wanted to discuss with you as far as like somewhere to kind of relate, and kind of see where a lot of you guys stood, with your mathematical ability. Because I think a lot of times when I'm speaking with my students, sometimes they say, oh, I'm really good at math. And then they get to a class like pre-calculus or calculus and they're like, oh crap, I don't know as much as I did, right? Or maybe some students were, maybe they felt like they struggled with math and they weren't really that good at math. But once they get the right teacher, once they kind of get the right like spark, then they realize, oh, I can actually learn this stuff. And so kind of let me know where, if you kind of fall in one of those camps. Maybe you struggle with math, or maybe you feel like really strong in math and everything's kind of cruising along and you maybe haven't got to that class yet, or that teacher that's really kind of pushed you to the limit. Let me know down in the comments below, because I do want to say hello to Alexander, and Justin and Charles and Forever Thoughtful. Thank you so much, guys, for showing up there. And you're very welcome for that trigonometry video. It's wonderful. That's awesome. I do actually have a couple more that I do want to throw in you. And Troy, good to have you on. A lot of times when I tell students that I struggle with math, they're like, what? You struggle with math? Like you make math so, you make it look like it's so easy. Or, when you teach it's, I can understand it. And I think the easiest way to go about this is, well, let's become a math teacher. Like I spend my day and evening doing math, talking about math. And I think when you've ever done something with that much repetition, of course it's going to come easier. And of course, once you, in the same respect, like when you learn or when you teach something that many times, you also learn more about the content of what you're teaching, why you're teaching it, how to teach it, and everything else. But a lot of times, the first time you're going through a math class, myself included, I didn't really understand what I was doing, why I was doing it, and how I was doing it. And I think that really kind of started off with my struggles. So what I want to do is just kind of give you guys a little little bit of kind of a story of the way that I started to struggle with math, some things that I did, and how that kind of like made me help me become a math teacher, and then also helped me become how I like to instruct. So I don't really have much of a memory with struggling with math up until 7th grade. And I think 7th grade was when I started maybe algebra, pre-algebra course. And I don't remember exactly the content that I was struggling with, but I do remember it was something algebra related. I do remember the class I was in, Mr. Burns' class. And I remember for the first time, I was like a daydreamer in class. I wasn't always paying attention. I would always just kind of drift off in space. But I remember there was this particular lesson that, the teacher was teaching. And then, he's like, all right, guys, go ahead and, work on your worksheet. And I remember looking around and everybody was able to do the worksheet. Everybody's just going around. And I looked at this worksheet and I was like, I have absolutely no idea how to do this. Like, completely lost. And I remember getting help from a friend. They're trying to explain it. And I'm like, I do not understand this at all. And I remember that was the first time that I was like, oh, crap. I'm like, you always kind of hear like, oh, math is hard. I'm not good at math. And I remember that was the first time that those kind of truths of what I've heard or what people have spoken, I started wanting to believe that about myself, because it was the first time I've ever struggled with math. So of course, what I want to do to protect myself was say, oh, maybe I'm just one of those people that's not good at math. Maybe math is too hard for me. And, so I kind of hid it. I didn't want to let people know that I was, not good at math or struggling. So, I tried to, avoid letting people see my struggles. And that kind of continued from 7th grade to 8th grade, where I just kind of did whatever I needed to do. I always got the extra help that I could. But it was kind of embarrassing for myself, even though it was kind of accepted, for people not to be great at math. It's still kind of that acceptable space. A lot of people feel like, oh, I failed my math test. Like everybody's like, oh, like that's cool. It's okay. Math sucks. Nobody likes math, so it's okay to do bad in the class. But I still kind of avoided that. And so what I think one of the things that I did mentally was I changed myself. Instead of trying to learn the content, instead of trying to learn the math, what I did was, to protect myself, I learned exactly what I needed to do to pass the class, right? To pass the test, to pass the quiz. I didn't care about learning it. I didn't care about understanding it. All I wanted to do was just be good enough to move on to the next grade, to move on to the next level. And that was fine. That got me through Algebra 1, Algebra 2. Actually, we had like integrated math, so I didn't take Algebra 1, Algebra 2. But I went through all those courses. And then everything came to a halt when I got into pre-calculus. And that's the course that I most commonly teach now, where most of my videos are. And I remember being in pre-calculus and being completely lost. Because what the thing is about the pre-calculus curriculum is it makes you go back to all that previous content that you were supposed to learn, and it expects you to, remember that stuff and actually to apply it. And of course, I was that student that didn't really learn this stuff. I was just doing what I needed to do, and I was completely lost. And I got D's all through high school. I might have squeaked out a C in one of my pre-calculus quarters. But yeah, I struggled. I struggled really bad. Now, it wasn't until my senior year, but that was one of those times where I realized, hey, I actually like math. Even though pre-calculus also was this idea of like, even though I wasn't good at it, obviously because I had such a weak foundation, but there's things about this math curriculum that I'm like, I kind of enjoyed. I kind of enjoyed the identities. I enjoyed some parts of math that I've done. I just knew I wasn't good at it. And so that's when I made the decision to become a math teacher. And it wasn't a decision that many people were like, oh, that's a great decision. You just got D's in pre-calculus. But I went with it regardless because I wanted to be a teacher. I really felt that I enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed coaching. I played a lot of sports. I enjoyed coaching sports. So I really felt like I had an ability to be able to reach students. And so that's why I felt like, well, let me go ahead and become a teacher. And so therefore, when I went into college, I knew that I had to relearn everything that I supposedly basically did not learn in high school. And it was a lot of content. I didn't test into pre-calculus. I tested, I think, in the course below pre-calculus into an algebra class. And even in that class, I struggled. I had to go back and relearn everything. A lot of things that I thought I knew, I was making a lot of common basic mistakes. And it was tough. I put in a ton of hours into that course. I went to the tutor lab each and every day. Even though a lot of the stuff I knew what I was doing, I still went to the tutor lab. I still did all my homework. I did extra problems. And you know what? I got an A out of that class. And what I did was I took that determination to learn everything I needed to learn in that course, and I applied that to my pre-calculus in college. And that, I did the same thing. I went to the tutor lab every single day, always did my homework, always did more than my homework, always did extra practice problems, always asked pointed questions, responsive questions, went above and beyond to make sure I really not just could do the content. In high school, that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to do the content. In pre-calculus, I wanted to understand why. I wanted to know how things were connected. I deep dived into the content to really get a better understanding. And guess what? In college, I got all A's in my pre-calculus. And even though, I still didn't have a great understanding, comparatively now being a teacher of pre-calculus, I've learned so many more things that I'm like, wow, I didn't even know that, when I took that in college, or how a lot of things were connected. But a lot of that stuff comes with time. It comes with maturity. And I think that's one of the things that I want to express to a lot of you is, when you struggle with math, a lot of students feel like they have to learn math at a certain age or they have to learn it in a certain grade. But you know what? It's like, give yourself some time because, I think a lot when you're trying to learn math or really any kind of content area, it comes down to the maturity of the brain, what your brain can handle. And I was able to be successful. So, I'll be nice to myself and saying, hey, I struggle with math. I didn't really put a main focus on it. I didn't really try my best. I didn't really care about doing well in math when I was younger. But in the same respect, I also just don't think I had the mental maturity to be able to understand a lot of the content of what I was doing, and it took time because, going from D's in high school to A's in college, there was only a couple year difference there. But I think the maturity of myself really, really played out and really, really helped me as I was going through the curriculum. I learned how to be a better student, and I feel like sometimes when I'm teaching my students, they feel so rushed. They have to take pre-calculus as a sophomore. They have to take calculus as a junior. And I'm like, don't rush yourself. It's okay. Take your time. If you're struggling in pre-calculus now, it doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean you can't do this work. You just got to give yourself time. Maybe take a year off. Maybe take another course and come back to this. Maybe you do have some fundamental foundations that you need to go back and review. That's one of the more common mistakes, or one of the more common issues that I have with students, when they're taking a math course like pre-calculus or calculus, is they're weak on some of the fundamentals that they were supposed to take from the other course. And a lot of times it's because they're playing the game like I played, where it's what do I need to do to get the best grade on the test or quiz? Which, again, I get it. I was that same student as well. But I think once, eventually, especially in mathematics, depending on how high you want to go, the rubber's going to meet the road. I mean, you're going to have to come face to face with what you know and what you don't know. And again, that all depends on how far you're going in mathematics. That was one of those things that really helped me, was once I realized the work and the effort that I needed to put in, then I was able to be more successful in math. I still struggled with my upper level math courses, but I had a stronger foundation, and I had also a stronger work ethic. I knew how to be successful, and that's what kind of eventually allowed me to get my math degree. And when I became a teacher, I've always kind of kept that in my mind of, thinking about myself as a struggling student. And I can relate to a lot of you that have struggled, and that I can relate to a lot of you that when you leave a classroom, you're like, what just happened? I did not understand anything. I completely, can relate with that. I can also completely relate with students feeling like they know what they're doing, and then they get to a class and they're like, they're making tons of mistakes, and they're like, what happened? I was supposed to be good at math. Like, I know exactly what that's like as well. And I also know that feeling of like maybe being a little down in the dumps, maybe don't thinking you're going to be smart enough to take a class, and then you just start getting on a roll, and you're like, oh my God, I'm starting to get this stuff. Like, everything's starting to make sense. Everything is coming together, and it's an amazing feeling. So that's a little bit of the kind of history and movement as far as my struggles with math growing up. It all kind of stemmed with that, algebra, and just for me kind of faking it, just doing what I needed to do, doing the best I could for tests and quizzes, cram studying. And maybe, hey, if I didn't want to become a math teacher, that might not have been as, bad of a route. But I ended up needing math, a lot of math, unfortunately. And I'm really happy that I had to go back and, face what I skipped, because it really taught me a lot about learning, and that I was able to apply in different content areas as well as different areas of my life, that to really make sure that you're connecting things and understanding things and everything else. So maybe hopefully you guys can relate to any of that. I hope many of you guys can, or at least when you're watching my videos, you realize I'm just not some math teacher that always has been successful in math, and it's always great and so smart, and you can kind of see that, hey, this guy struggled as well. Like, maybe when I'm explaining something, that's like, oh, that's the 50th time that guy's probably explained that type of problem. I can see why it kind of makes sense to him, So that is everything else. All right, so now let's go and get in some of your chats. Before I am going to get into some of your guys' questions, I am hoping that my computer, so these, let's see, how many questions we have? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have quite a bit of questions from last week. I do apologize, guys. My computer was acting a little funny last week, but we should be able to get to them. So I got 8 with those, and then I think I got 4 this week. Or, yeah, 4. Okay. So I'm not going to have probably any time to take any questions from the chat. I do apologize for that, guys. But that was because I couldn't take questions last week, so I have to double it up. But I do have an extra special treat for you guys. I actually did take a couple of these videos, and I'm going to try something new. I made actually a couple specific videos for students that I'm going to upload onto my channel. So when you guys submit your questions, one of the things I wanted to try was actually making, rather than doing these on these live streams, which I always love doing, but I also wanted to kind of put some of those questions in the in actually a standalone video, and to be able to help you guys out. So those will be coming. A couple of those I made this week. You guys will be seeing those as well. All right. Well, hello, Melinda. Good to have you on. And Cheese Hybrid, is it possible that you could link the Discord server? Yes, it is actually linked. If you go and look at the pinned comment that I have, you'll see it says have questions. I have my link where you guys can submit questions at thebrianmclogan.com/Q&A. And then you can see below that there is the Discord link. So if you are interested in submitting questions that I am not able to get to on my live stream, then go ahead and use the Discord. Discord link, and you can also help people out if you're new to my channel and you would like to be able to answer some questions and help some people out with their math, especially as you're preparing for your next school year. I mean, guys, I cannot tell you a better way to get prepared for next school year. If you for instance, let's say you took, calculus, Calc 1, and you're going into Calc 2, go into the calculus go into the calculus channel and start helping students out with their Calc 1. I mean, what better way to review what you just learned than helping students out with their math, or going back into the pre-calculus or the algebra, and working through some of those problems, helping people out, because again, as you become a teacher, or you're explaining problems, that really helps you understand, why you understand the way that you do. And it really is a great way to get better at content and also to understand the material much better. Melinda, I did not see your message in the, are you talking about in the Discord? I did not get on Discord. So, or I wasn't up for it in yet. But I can go ahead and check. Hopefully my computer is staying on. Hold on. Oh, we're going to have to go through this math quick. All right, Muhammad, I finished school. Awesome. Congratulations. And, oh, I didn't see you. I was terrible at math until 6th grade. And that's when I got nothing but A's in my math class. So awesome, Corey. Joshua, thank you for all your videos. Help for getting back. Well, you're very welcome, Joshua. So happy to be able to help you out. And you should have, Mr. McLogan, you're amazing math teacher. Thank you very much. All right, Melinda, I do see your thing here. All right, chemistry plus math. Yeah, I actually enjoyed chemistry. I only took one course, and I only took it once in high school, but I got there. Awesome. Okay, well, then I'll respond back to the, that's awesome, and congratulations. That is awesome and good news. Kudos to you. That is awesome. Good job. But yeah, I'll go back and respond. If I might not get to it tonight, just depending on how the stream goes, but I'll definitely make sure that I get back on the Discord at least by tomorrow. Sophia, thank you so much for your videos. You are very welcome. And then I get first because I was an A student and nobody had to push me to study, and then had to push me to study, and she won't do much if I don't push her. I get frustrated because I was an A student and nobody had to push me. I'm not sure who had to push her, but yeah, I can see, that constant struggle, that constant push for them. Honestly, well, thank you very much, Cosmic. Appreciate that. I am not with you on the physics. I mean, I love physics. I'm just not very much into the applied. It's also really impressive how many videos. Yes. I have a lot of videos. And that was one of the things I'm very excited about, not having the COVID this year. I only did one video a week roughly this last year, and I'm ready to start pumping out some more content. So that was fun, but it wasn't enough for me. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get some math done because my computer is not going to probably last as long from there. So I'm going to go as long as I can go ahead and write this. So, awesome. So anyways, guys, just a reminder, if this is your first time being on the stream, if you would like to submit questions in the pinned comment, I do have a Q&A that you guys can go ahead and submit your questions to each and every week. Like I said, I a lot of times like to cover them on the weekly channel, but sometimes I'm not able to get to your question. So if you do get that a little bit of your summer work in as you're preparing for next school year, then go ahead and check out the Discord server where you guys can submit questions based on whatever course you're taking or whatever questions are submitted. You guys can go ahead and help people out there. So it is a awesome server that is growing, and I think it's a great benefit for you guys that either need help or also just wanting to help other students with their math. And I will also be back here every Sunday night at 9 p.m. answering the questions that do get submitted to me, as well as talking about content that you guys that will be having coming up for my channel. All right, so let's go and get into some math problems. I am going to try to work through these a little bit quicker, guys, and I will try to do my work through these a little bit quicker. I'm going to try to work these a little quicker, just to kind of go through them. So, all right, so let's just go and do the infinite many solutions one. So it says, finally, linear system, determine the values of k which make the system have one solution. So the main thing I would look at is, let's go and put these in slope-intercept form, because if they have infinite many solutions, then they have to have the same slope. Doesn't matter what the, or actually, they have to have the same slope infinite many solutions. They have to have the same slope, as well as the same y-intercept. So that's going to be kind of an interesting one. Well, first thing, let's go and get rid of these fractions. So to get rid of the fractions, I'm going to multiply by a 6 here. And then I'm going to multiply here by a 2. So I actually didn't really look at this question, so let's go and see what happens here. Let's see, that's going to be a 2, that's going to be a 10y equals 12. And then when I multiply this by 2, I get a 2k x plus 5y equals 6. Okay, so if I want them to, now let's go ahead and solve for y. I think I could, 3x, let's subtract the 3x. So I have a 10y equals a negative 3x plus 12. For me, I can just visualize this. Y equals negative 3 tenths x plus, I'm just going to leave this as a 12 tenths. Then over here, I'll subtract a 2ky, 2kx, and I get a 5y. What am I doing? Not that. Plus 6. Okay, and then divide by 5. So I get y equals here, and this is going to be a negative 2k. So thumbs up. Well, discipline, Christ, well, thank you very much, disciple of Christ. I greatly appreciate that. I'm so happy to get out. I just refreshed to nothing. We are back. Okay, thank you, Justin. All right, it's working out. Yeah, sorry about that. I actually just looked at that and said, oh, your stream went out. So I do apologize. Hopefully it wasn't as bad as what we had last week. All right, so yeah, the streams will be going every Sunday night, guys. I have 4 more questions I'm going to try to get to for you guys. Are you planning on making tutorials on multivariable calculus? Probably not. Evan, I am not muted. You should be able to hear me from this. Probably not anything on multivariable calculus, at least yet. I am trying to work my way back through some calculus videos, though. So there will be some content that I will be posting throughout this year. All right, so let's go and wrap up this one. So this one says, find the limit as x approaches negative 4 from the left, okay? Now, the one thing I know about this graph here is if I was going to graph this, I'm going to have a 2 asymptotes at 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I'm going to have a vertical asymptote, at negative 16. Okay? Now my problem is, though, from the left, I don't know, is it approaching it up or is it approaching it going down? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to approach some numbers that are very, very close. So I'm going to do like negative 3.9. So what I'll do is I'm just going to plug in negative 3.9. I'll plug in negative 3.99. And then like negative 3.999 into my calculator and kind of say, hey, are those getting more and more positive numbers or are they getting more and more negative numbers? So all I'm simply going to do is take 5 divided by, and I'll just do a negative 3.9. Oh, it doesn't really matter if it's negative because it would be it's going to be squared anyways. Oops. Make sure you're using your parentheses correctly. 16. There you go. All right, so let's go ahead and see what to get there. Okay, so that gives me a negative 6.32. And then let's do an entry, and then let's do a insert. Let's do an extra 9. And then I get a negative 62. So what I'm seeing is these numbers are getting farther and farther. It's getting more and more negative. Now again, I could have some calculation errors, but in this case I get negative 6.32. Here I get a negative 62.57. And then if I did one more, second entry, and then I do a insert, one more 9, I get a negative 625. So what I can see here is my graph is going to look something like this. As I'm getting closer and closer to negative 4, my y values are getting more and more negative, right? So it looks like it's approaching this going down approach from the left. Looks like it's getting closer and closer to negative infinity. So therefore, that is going to be my answer here. It is negative infinity. It's not getting more and more positive. 27.78. All right, so let's go and look at question number 2. So question number 2 says factorize x squared minus 4. Again, guys, hopefully you recognize this is a difference of two squares. So that'd be x minus 2 times x plus 2. Oops. Okay, and that last question was from Julian. This question is from Even. So the next one says, show that x cubed minus x can be expressed as a product of three integers. So the first thing I recognize is that we can factor out an x. So I factor out an x, I'm going to be left with a x squared minus 1. And then here I can further factor this down, again using the difference of two squares. So this is x minus 1 times a x plus 1. C says, hence show that n to the fifth minus 5n cubed plus 4n is a product of 5 consecutive integers. Oh, this one can be written as a product of 3 consecutive integers. Okay, so if x was a number like 5, then x minus 1 would be 4, x plus 1 would be 6, right? So you could also rewrite this as x minus 1 times x plus 1. All right, number C says, hence show that n to the fifth minus 5n cubed plus 4n is a product of 5 consecutive integers. Okay, so what do I do? All right, so I have n to the fifth minus a 5n cubed plus 4n. All right, so again, first thing we're going to do is factor out the n. Then we'll have n to the fourth minus a 3n squared plus 4. Okay, now this is a trinomial, so the factoring technique is going to be a little bit different. Now what we're doing is we're looking for a product of two binomials that are going to multiply to give me n to the fourth. Well, to give me n to the fourth, I'm going to want to use a n squared times n squared. And what two numbers multiply to give me a positive 4, but we're going to add to give me a negative 3. Well, that's going to be a negative positive 4. Did I write that down wrong? Oh, yeah. No, oh, that's a positive 5. I wrote that down wrong. I was wondering, I'm like, that doesn't work. Negative 5, n. Okay. So what two numbers multiply give me a positive 4, add to give me negative 5. That's going to be a negative 4 and a negative 1. Okay. Now again, you recognize these are two difference of two squares. So n plus 1. And then this one can be n minus 2 times a n plus 2. Now, if I want to write this as consecutive integers, let's start with n. Right? So let's say n is my 5. Well, then my 4 would be n minus 1. N minus 2 would be 3. Right? If this is 5, then, well, hey, Christy, thank you so much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate it. I had to stop and not congratulate you, but thank you truly for the super chat. I greatly do appreciate it. If this is my n, or 5, then n plus 1 would be my 6, and then n plus 2 would be my 7. And you guys can see how that's consecutive integers. Okay? Let's kind of put these next to each other. All right, and then the last question that was submitted, and again, for those of you guys that maybe joined onto my stream a little bit later, you guys can go ahead to my link that's in this in the chat, and then go ahead and submit your questions for next week. I'll be happy to address them each and every Sunday night at 9 p.m. I go live and answer your questions. I'm not able to get to everybody's questions, so therefore you can also take a look at the Discord link, which is in there as well, and go ahead and help students out with their questions or submit questions in there for our tutors to help us out. All right, actually I got two more questions. So this one says, the function f is defined by 2x squared minus 12x plus 13 from 0 to a, where a is a constant. Express fx in the form of vertex form. All right, so let's go and do that first. All right, so if I have 2x squared minus 12x plus 13, to put this in vertex form, what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out the 2. And I'm going to group it from that way, plus 13. Okay? Then I'm going to take my middle number, 6, divided by 2 and square it. So that's going to give me a minus 6x plus 9. Okay? And then, but I didn't really add a 9, did I? I added a 9 that was being multiplied by 2. So again, this is on the one expression. So if I'm going to add a 9 and be multiplied by 2, I also need to then subtract the 9 and multiply by 2. So therefore, I'm going to be left with, this can be factored down into a x minus 3, quantity squared, and then this is going to be a minus 5. All right, so that is going to be the vertex form. And again, you could set this equal to y, right? That's equation like f of x, or if you want to use y, whatever else. But again, that's why I added and subtracted on the same side. Or it just says f of x. So let's go and rewrite that as f of x. Let's go to the next one. The next one says, state the value A for which the graph has a line of symmetry. Well, again, if we were to graph this, right, this graph would be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So the graph, I don't know what the graph looks like, but it looks something like that. The line of symmetry goes through the vertex. So I can say state the value of A where the line of symmetry is. I could say A is equal to 3. That is going to be your line of symmetry. Then the last one says when A has this value, find the range of F. Okay, so basically what we have is we want to figure out what is F of 0 and what is F of negative, or what is F of 3, right? Yes. Okay, so when I want to figure out what F of 0 is, all I'm simply going to do is plug 0 into this equation, right? When you plug 0 into X, what you're going to get is a 2 times 0 squared, minus 12 times 0 plus 13. So hopefully you guys see this is a 13, right? So let's go and plot this. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's the point, 0, 13. Then I have F of 3. Why am I choosing F of 3? Because that's where the line of symmetry is, right? We want to know what is the Y value at that point. So we plug in Y of 3. Now again, could you plug 3 into this equation? You could. But I'm actually going to choose to plug it into the vertex form because the vertex form is going to be a little bit easier. How do I know that? Well, look what happens when I plug it in up here. 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 squared is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. And what do I get? A negative 5. So at 3, 1, 2, 3, I get down to negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, we already knew that from vertex form, or hopefully we did. And therefore, basically, oops, not all the way. Now what we're basically asking ourselves is what is the range of this function, right? That's what the question was. So the range is going to be from negative 5 to 13. There you go. All right, last question submitted for tonight was going to be a bag containing 17 mint chocolate chip bars, 8 regular chocolate chip bars, and 6 almond jars. What is the probability that someone chooses a mint chocolate bar? So when we're looking at the probability, what we're looking at is a portion, a part out of the whole. So what we're looking at is 17. What's the option that they're going to choose 17 out of? Well, how many total do we have? 17 plus 8 is going to be 25, and then plus 6 is going to be 31. Okay, and if we wanted to rewrite this as a percentage or a decimal, we could say 17 divided by 31. And that's going to be a 0.548, right? And, we could roughly bring that over. We could also say that's going to be a 54.8%, right? So a couple different ways you can write your probability, but we'll just do that for on there. All right, guys. Well, that is it for these questions. I am happy to answer any other questions that you guys maybe have for your chat, or maybe I only have a little bit left to go. But if you guys do have any questions about what I previously talked about at the beginning of my stream with the struggles of my math, or anything else that you guys have going on, I'll be happy to answer your questions maybe for the next 5 minutes. But then otherwise, I will have to kind of shut down for my computer's sake. And actually, you know what? See, haha, it's a little fun. All right, so I just want to say thank you. You helped me pass my math lessons, and awesome. Well, Perks, you are very welcome. So happy to hear that. Yes, unfortunately, thank you, Charles. Yeah, I don't have any time for extra questions for tonight. The chat had, or my computer, it was not fully charged and anything, and also I have to put my girls to bed after this, so they are up way too late. Due to we didn't see the other questions. I love vaping. What question are you referring to that you had on there? Because I got to many questions. We didn't see the other questions due to which question are you referring to? All the questions last week I covered. I didn't know there was a lag when I was teaching. Stop. I believe those were the 2 questions you were asking. Make sure I love vaping if that was different. What's the difference between onto and one-to-one function? So one-to-one is going to work whatever. One-to-one is going to have that exact connection. As X goes to Y, then Y goes to X. You're going to have that perfect relationship. Onto, actually, I forgot. I don't remember off the top of my head. So I will be frank with you on that. It's not something I use a lot. We use the 1-to-1 a lot, but onto I don't really recall. I'm gonna have to go and look it up from there. But it's not something that I have recently taught to where it's on top of my brain. Just want to talk. What's the hardest math lesson? I don't know. I mean, I think that's all kind of relative for a lot of students. Need more than that, but try. Yes, I do have a lot of trig. Don't forget to answer Candace's question as well. Should I take pre-calc? Oh, well, Justin, I'll be happy to do that. I didn't see Candace's question because I didn't see a lot of people's chat in there. But thank you for letting me know. Don't forget to answer Candace's question as well. Should I take pre-calc before physics with algebra? I've taken trig in college algebra and got an A in both classes. If you're taking physics, I mean, typically if you're taking physics with algebra, then I think you'll be fine. If you're taking calc-based physics, then you should definitely be taking calculus. You should definitely have calculus 1. But I think if you have a strong math background and you're just taking an algebraic or an algebra-based physics class, then you should be fine. You know, even if you've taken trig, that's more of a bonus. And college algebra, I think you'll be perfectly fine. And do you have any advice on taking the ACT? No, I don't have any. I don't really focus a lot on ACT or SAT test prep. That is something I am looking into, kind of like developing a little bit more. But I would just do as many practice problems as you possibly can. I think the more problems that you can practice, the better you'll feel and the better prepared you'll be. But as far as any like direct advice, I don't have any for those tests. I'm not sure about the bioscientific calculators. I do have a TI-84 plus C Silver Edition, and that's kind of been my go-to from there. Obviously, you can get more powerful, but I just like typically for what I need. That has covered me, and then I just use Desmos actually a lot more than anything else. What about my question? Okay. Do you have experience with AP Computer Science? Do you have any thoughts on it? I do not have any. I do not have any experience teaching computer science. Never took a computer science course, but I think it's awesome that it's available for students, and I think it's a really cool thing for students to get started as an AP curriculum. But unfortunately, I don't have any experience or opinion on the content. So you're very welcome. All right, thank you. Well, guys, let me know if there's anything else. Oh, sorry, Christy. Or if I said who's Candace, Christy from on there. Yes, Christy, I see. Very good. All right, guys. Well, let me know if there's anything that you guys left have. I'm just kind of going back up, see if there's anything maybe else that I cheat or I missed. Oh, Christy, yeah, you got me the super chat. You're awesome. Thank you so much. What do you guys suggest to do over the summer to keep our minds sharp? Justin, I will be coming out with my video next week on exactly some things you guys should be doing. I did not talk a lot about it up until this point in June, just because that's part of my advice is not to do anything for a thing. Obviously, some of you might have been taking some summer school, which is awesome, and I think that is great if that's something that you needed or wanted to do or were doing. But I'm kind of I don't think I think I didn't push a lot of math content in this summer. I kind of avoided talking about like this upcoming school year because once July hits, now I'm going to start focused on next school year. So I really like to really decompress and like forget about the school year into all of June and just like enjoy a little bit of your time. But once July starts, and I'll start that with my next live stream, I'll get you guys prepared. Actually, yeah, next live stream will be in July. So we're going to start working on content, and we're going to start. I'll start telling you guys how are some things that I want you to prepare for and get prepared for the math or for this upcoming school year. All right, guys. Marilla, is there a simple way to solve a rate problem involving more than 3 separate terms? Oh, you didn't see me? I didn't see the lag. Well, I mean, there's my answers. I love vaping. I'll put my answers back up for you. I apologize for that. So, I mean, all I did was I just expanded them. So I apologize for that. I'm not sure about the lag. I wasn't watching. So when I'm teaching, I'm not watching my screen. But hopefully you can maybe screenshot that work. All I simply did was just multiply them using FOIL. So you can see that I basically was just using FOIL for each one of these. So I just multiplied every term times every term. And then the main thing also that you want to know for these is that I times I, I squared is equal to -1. And I think if you can remember that, then you should be on your way. I am so sorry I don't have any more time, guys, to add any extra questions. But again, you guys can always submit your questions in for next week or go to the Discord server. Do you have an idea on way to practice math as a hobby and not just doing schoolwork? Yeah, I would look at look at the textbooks. The textbooks are written by very, very smart people. Or use Brilliant. Brilliant is I think Brilliant.org is another great website that you can just go and practice a lot of math thinking through that website. But I also think when you're doing like math books, like math textbooks, there's a lot of extra questions and extra examples that you can kind of like in the back of the book that you can expand on. That's not just math work. That I think a lot of times that will open up your eyes to how a lot of things are connected. Oh, well, thank you very much. You're very well. I got them right. They were in my pre-cal EOC test. Well, awesome. Very good. All right, guys, I am going to sign off. I hope you guys have a great week. I look forward to seeing you guys next week and every other Sunday night when I'll go through these open live Q&As. Feel free to go ahead and submit your questions in the link in the chat. And otherwise, guys, have a great week, and let's get ready for the second half of the year. Starts next week. Cheers.